Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the District of Brown Deer School Board meeting. Today is Tuesday, January 23rd. We'd like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be able to attend this meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. Verification of public notice. The meeting has been publicly noticed. Verification of quorum. We have all 7 board members in attendance this evening. Approval of the agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
Thank you very much, Ms. Robinson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Who wants to second?
A second.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Z. Motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor would raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 7-0. And the reading of our vision and mission statement. Our vision is to provide a rigorous education that empowers our students to confidently navigate in our ever-changing world. And our mission is through the lens of excellence, equity, and engagement. We are dedicated to empowering every student with the essential skills to build a foundation for lifelong learning. All right, with that being said, let's go on to our item number 2. Well, before we do that, tonight is our regular scheduled board meeting and stuff. So we actually do have public comments. In the public comments, it needs to be a comment that is in relationship to an agenda item that's on here. There is 3 minutes that you will have. Remember, it is a statement, not a question that you'd like to be able to make. And when you do, please, if you're in the chat, that is going to be, someone will be looking at the chat. And if you're here in person, we need to have your name and we have to have your Brown Deer address. Okay. All right, so just letting you know that part. So now let's go on to our district communication. Dr. Kelsey Brown, are you able to speak or do you?
Yes, I can speak.
I mean, again, you think so. Don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Yes, district administrative report will be brief this evening. Last week, just had an opportunity to attend the Wisconsin State Convention where superintendent, board members, and business managers were all present, principals, all administrators really across the state were at the convention. I had an opportunity to present with CESA 6 regarding educator effectiveness in the evaluation system. Lots of great questions come from that. And then I also had an opportunity to present with Strive 365, as you all know, organization we partner with for social emotional learning for our students. And so that was the state convention last week. Thank you to all the board members who were able to make it to the convention. And then today, we need to know working with Senator Fenol's office on passing of a bill for the paraprofessionals to become teachers. And we had a second, I couldn't make it. I did not make it today. I was not feeling well. However, there was a team that went up to Madison today for a second hearing on the bill. I do not have an update just yet, but I will provide an update at the next meeting. And so that is my district administrator's report for today. And if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer.
Okay. I would say the last part when she spoke about the conference, board members, anything that you'd like to be able to add in relationship to the WASB conference?
I'll just jump in and say that it's always a really good time. You get a chance to meet with other superintendents and board members of school districts statewide. There were a number of resolutions that was put forth and that passed. So unlike last year where we had a marathon meeting, it was nice and concise, and most of everything on the agenda got through. And yeah.
Only I'd like to add is well, the sessions I was able to attend and stuff, they were actually very well attended. One of them was a referendum workshop and some other workshops and stuff. And I think that they are very prevalent to everything that we kind of have going on as a school district, because not only Brown Deer is going through some of these same things, but this is the same thing that's going on across the state. So it was always good to be able to go into sessions that added value to what we're trying to do, and as well as being able to speak with individuals that may be going through some of the same things that we're doing, or they've already gone through, and trying to be able to share that knowledge with us. So I just wanted to be able to add that part on to what Dr. Kelsey Brown said in relationship to the WASB conference.
It was great, and the icing on the cake is I got to meet John Quinones.
Yeah, there you go. That's always a good one.
You do.
So you gonna be on TV?
I hope not.
Okay, yeah, I know, right? All right. All right. Thank you, Dr. Kelsey Brown. All right, let's go now to our district showcase.
Good evening, President Vito, directors of the board, and guests. It is always important to recognize and appreciate the hard work and dedication of those who serve in our schools and communities. School District of Brown Deer has taken a great step by acknowledging our staff members who go above and beyond for our students, staff, and families they serve. Tonight, we are here to celebrate the staff of the month for November and December. These individuals have been nominated by their fellow staff members and have shown exceptional dedication and commitment to their work. The following staff members are nominees for November. Jasmine Buford, Administrative Assistant to the Principal and Finance, BDE. Ms. Buford is always there for our scholars and staff. She provides a tremendous amount of support for everyone and constantly gives her all, no matter what. Brown Deer Elementary is lucky to have her. Jim Lingo, Falcon Elite Partner Middle School. Mr. Lingo is one of our elite Falcon partners. He is an excellent craftsman. He volunteers in the wood shop and assists staff and students. He is appreciated for all of his help and suggestions. Mr. Lingo has created videos and detailed explanations with images of various projects to assist students. Carlos Alba, ELA Teacher High School. Mr. Alba does great work with the Student Council. He makes reading fun and exciting for high school students. He is phenomenal at engaging students. Kathy Kelser, District Accountant, ASC. Ms. Kelser is an extremely hard worker. Her efforts and dedication to the district are amazing. She always gives 110% to ensure the business department runs smoothly. She's always to offer help. The district is so lucky to have Kathy. For our December nominees, we have Antonio Oliver, Social Emotional Learning Specialist, BDE. Mr. Oliver plays a major role in maintaining BDE expectations and working to keep our students and emotionally safe. He's always willing to help whenever needed and continuously goes above and beyond for students and staff. Christopher House, art teacher. Mr. House is a great coworker. He has great advice on how to handle situations. He always leads with compassion and understanding. Mr. House is willing to take time from his day to be the middle school repairman, doing projects back together. He has been instrumental in running the Falcon After School Achievers Program. Damian Woods, interim assistant principal, high school. Mr. Woods made himself available to both staff and students. He is supportive and responsive to staff needs. He has always displayed positivity throughout the high school. Dakota Hilton, administrative assistant to the director of pupil services, ASC. Dakota is a great team player. He is always professional and willing to help. Dakota is dedicated to getting things done right, and it's fantastic to work with. I'll go to TV. And Mr. Lingo. Mr.
Woods is here. If you're here, stand up, please.
Sure, I'd be
Yes.
good.
Are you able to? No? I think if maybe stand over on the side. We have an official photographer today, so that would be a possibility. This out.
I've been online.
Yeah.
Dakota's online.
Yes.
Okay, do it. These are the things that we celebrate.
Oliver, I see you online.
Okay, BD Magazine. Do we need more light? Wow.
Okay. It is truly inspiring to see individuals who are passionate about their work and who strive to make a positive impact on the lives of those around them. We can all learn from their example and strive to be the best versions of ourselves in our own work and personal lives. Congratulations to the staff for the months of November and December. Keep up the amazing work and know that your efforts are truly appreciated by those around you. Again, congratulations, Amanese. Let's talk about student interns. Am I doing something?
I was gonna clap again.
All right. Let's talk about student interns. Communication internships can provide students with experience in media relations, social media management, and writing, while photography internships can help students develop skills in visual storytelling, composition, and editing. Both are important areas that can lead to fulfilling careers. The Communications Department's current internship program, which began in January 2023, has proven to be a valuable opportunity for students to gain practical experience and knowledge in the field of communication. In its first year, the program welcomed 2 high school interns, class of 2023, Yana Hemahawk, communications, and Taquan Green, photography. For the 2024 school year, Taquan, class of 2024, continued the photography internship, joined by Patrick Young, class of 24, while April Stanky, class of 2025, joined as the communication intern. Our photography interns embrace an independent internship, providing them with real-life job experiences and expectations outside of the classroom and school doors. The responsibilities include capturing specific photos for the department's magazine, website, community portraits, and various communication material. Meanwhile, the communications interns attended their first internship as a regular class, meeting every other day to develop their skills. This hands-on experience encompasses a wide range of activities, from podcast production to article writing and graphic design. Impressively, Yana, who graduated in 2023 and now attends Marquette University, secured a paid internship last summer working with Ms. Kruger. For her paid internship, Yana grew as a communication professional, adding true value to the department. All 4 interns have worked to improve their skills. They have shown a willingness to participate in help-on projects, no matter how big or small. With a positive attitude and ability to learn quickly, they don't shy away from challenges. They Photoshop, brand, provide Canvas support to new teachers, and best of all, they work to tell the school district of Brown Deer's beautiful story. Thank you, interns. Finally, tonight, we showcase our All right. Finally, tonight, we recognize our school crossing guards. The School District of Brown Deer has 4 dedicated crossing guards: Axel Green, Rick Capella, Philip Roloff, and Willie Williams. School crossing guards play an essential role in ensuring the safety of students during their daily commutes to and from school. Their dedication and commitment to their jobs make a significant impact on the lives of students and their families. Therefore, it is important to acknowledge and appreciate their hard work. Crossing guards work in all kinds of weather, often standing for long periods of time and putting their own safety at risk to ensure the safety of children. They help students navigate busy streets, crosswalks, and intersections and keep an eye out for potential dangers. They also serve as potential role models for students, teaching them the importance of pedestrian safety. So let's take a moment to appreciate our school crossing guards and thank them for their dedication to keeping our children safe. They deserve our gratitude and respect for all they do. Thank you, crossing guards. And that concludes our district showcase.
Online, Ms. Krieger has a note that just said she was sorry she's not able to be here. But she wanted to say in person how proud she is of her communication with other friends. She wishes you all a congratulations and that you've worked incredibly hard and she's so proud. She's very lucky to be able to continue to work with these extremely gifted and talented.
So Dr. Beal, I'm wondering, because this is wonderful recognition for a number of individuals who obviously make our community proud. And I'm wondering if we could get some highlights posted in the Brown Deer Way. Some of the teacher recognitions, crossing guards, the student interns. I don't know if we can do it all in one fell swoop, but maybe we break it up and I don't know.
The Brown Deer Magazine. Yeah. I don't think it should be that much of a problem in relationship to that. But when is the next one actually coming out though?
Summer.
The next one will be the summer one? Okay, so again, so maybe what we could turn around and ask is when that one does come out, if we go from when we started in November and just be able to list all of them and stuff for the summer edition and being able to do that. And then what we do is potentially moving forward next school year, when we start with the teachers of the month or staff of the month. And then we start with that and then we get that going into the, that is part of it. Here, point blank. And then if we can do something, Dr. Kelsey Brown, if we maybe can do something to where it's going out online, going out to everybody as well too. And so that way all of our parents and students and staff, everybody sees it and everybody's able to share in that enjoyment.
Yes.
So will we be able to do that, Amanda?
We can definitely get it in the magazine, but it does already go on our Facebook, Instagram, and our staff and family newsletters,
Okay, that's perfect. So then if we can turn around and just add it also to our,
the magazine.
to the magazine and to our other stuff, then that would be wonderful.
I guess the village newsletter could be another option.
Yeah, well, I think that's what we were talking about, like the magazine, and if we could turn around and like the village newsletter comes out every month. So it is every week or whatever. So maybe what we may be able to do is, because I get something every week.
That is the try.
So maybe what we can do is potentially have a conversation with the village and see if that is something else that we'd be able to, add that into or whatever. Because I think us being able to highlight our staff and everything else like that and some of the other positive things that are going on within the district is something that we need to do.
And I know that we have that one page and sometimes it's dedicated to the school district. And
Right.
I just thought it would be a really good way to really share with the world the great things
That we're
these
doing.
individuals are doing here.
Definitely agree. And that's like one of our pillars that we were talking about, making sure that we do our celebrations, everything that we've got going on. Thank you. Any other comments or questions or are we finished with the showcase?
Yes, sir.
Dr. Glantz? Okay. All right. Thank you. I wasn't quite sure. All right. Our next piece is our public comments. This is again, a time where, people can go ahead and make a comment as long as it's something that's based upon, our agenda. This evening you have 3 minutes and remember it is a comment and not a question, but if there is something that's relevant or whatever, we will definitely try to look into it, as quickly as we possibly can. So if you're on the chat, please put in the chat what your name is, your address and what your comment is. And the same thing for individuals that are in the audience this evening. So with that being said, Do we have anyone that would like to make a public comment? Oh, okay, I can't see.
Good evening. Brad Nuss, 2802 North 75th Street, 53210. Also a BDEA union member. Represent my staff in that capacity. I would like to take this opportunity to speak on two budget items this evening. First, the prospect of a superintendent search firm vendor. While I do not like to sink money into a search for superintendent, I feel the need to weigh that against the potential of a closed loop superintendent search, which does not reach outside the weekend zone of influence. I feel we'd be doing a disservice to our needs and our potential if we limited our search to those who happen to be on weekend over the holidays, as the window for applying was December 15th to January 15th. It would be a shame if the scope of our search only included those already close to ground deer. While having a working knowledge of the district is a potential pro, it also has its drawbacks. We need to look for candidates who would come in with fresh eyes, not obscured vision. We needed candidates who are not influenced by friendships or fraternities, but willing to take the time to foster worthwhile working relationships. We need candidates who are not mired in the past or what they've grown accustomed to, but willing to shake up the status quo with fresh ideas and inventive investments. As a committed educator and a BDEA union representative, we as a staff look forward to your plan as you begin to select the candidates you deem worthy of our investment. A plan that includes interviews open to staff, students, and parent representatives. A plan that includes meet and greets with stakeholders within our community and schools. A plan that is both rigorous and equitable. This is an investment of time and resources, but it is an investment that is necessary. We have seen Dr. Brown lead this district out of the shadow of COVID, and we have benefited from her investment in resources and professional staff and strategic plan to move us forward with buy-in from staff, students, and parents. I hope the candidates and the interview process is open and transparent as the last time we had to move forward in our search for a superintendent, and hopefully they are as committed to student success as Dr. Brown continues to be. Secondly, I would like to take a minute to address the 24-25 budget. I feel that we cannot in one breath tell our constituents that we are searching for extra money in the couch cushions, and then in the next breath discuss the need for buildings and grounds investment. If our budget is so fixed in as our margins suggest, we need to allocate our dollars to the continued successful academic achievement of the students who reside in our classrooms. If our budget is as fixed as implied, we need to have the funds to support our students in the classroom with continued investment in those places that we know support student academic achievement. If we find ourselves balancing on a fiscal cliff, nobody will care if our fields are immaculate, if our achievement is what suffers. Nobody will care if our baseball, our softball diamonds are wonderful, if our math and reading growth trends wane. Academics and classroom investment needs to take priority, especially if the $7 billion Madison is sitting on lies dormant and not invested back into the state's public education system. The surrounding districts have been forced to ask the community for operational referendums in order to meet the growing costs associated with public education, including energy and food, the staffing of quality educators, and transportation. Something will have to give. I just hope that the sacrifice isn't on the shoulders of our students, the very people with the least amount of say and influence. The students will bear the brunt of our budget choices because without them, what are we even doing here? Thank you.
All right. Any other public comments? Is there anybody in the chat? Anyone else in the audience? Well, I'll give it another 30 seconds as usual. Let me see. Oh, that's you.
Thank you so much for your comments. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
Anything?
Dr. Ito.
Okay.
Mr. Nuss, for the purposes of the record, I didn't get your address.
2802 North 75th Street, 53210.
2802.
North what?
North 75th Street.
And the zip code again was 53210.
210.
Got it. Thank you.
Come on.
Yeah, I appreciate your passion and your clear and deliberate outline.
Nice of you to say thank you.
All right, anyone else? All right, let's move forward. Thank you very much. Let's go on to our 4A, approval of minutes.
Dr. Beagle, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda, including the minutes of the December 19th, 2023 regular board meeting, the schedule of voucher payments via check, ACH, and wire transfers in the amount of $1,089,436.81 in the general checking account and the food service account, including funds 10, 21, 27, 39, 47, 49, 50, 72, and 80. In the January 23rd, 2024 school safety drill update as presented tonight.
All right, thank you very much. A motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Bacon. Motion has been made and second. Any further discussion? You can see none. All in favor will raise hand and or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can see none. Motion carries unanimously, 7-0. Let's go on to our next item. I'm sorry. Scroll down. All right, let's go on to item discussion for discussion, consideration, and possible board action. 5A, discussion and approval of the 2025 international field trip. Would that be?
Yeah.
Well, Ms. Abby here? Is Abby here?
No, she's not.
Okay, okay.
Where are you, Michael? I absolutely, so Thank sorry. you so much.
So while they're pulling up.
Here we are. You okay? Yeah, okay. Hi, my name is Mia Radke. I am a social studies teacher at the school. And I would like to have this opportunity for Brown Deer High School to be able to go to Europe, specifically Germany, Czech Republic, Poland, Slovakia, and Hungary for 10 days. So a little bit of background of why I travel. These are actually pictures from my past traveling I've done with my students. I had the amazing opportunity to take 45 students to Washington, D.C. This summer. And I love traveling. I travel constantly throughout the summer, and I really want my students to experience what it is like to go abroad, to go to other parts of our country and to learn from other people, cultures, languages, etc. And it offers students a very world-minded view. So this is a survey that EF Towards actually did for parents after the students came back from their trip. And these are the 5 things that parents, I guess, found from their students. So introducing new ways of learning, hands-on skills, they get to interact with the world, especially going to so many different countries. It also lots of the school curriculum too. And it also can lead to students discovering passions for traveling or maybe even the job that they would like to discover in the future. And then this is what we're seeing students when they are traveling abroad that they have changed. So we have growth mindset, global perspective, personal development, and action and impact. So EF is an established educational partner. They have a personal learning guide. Students are able to earn up to a half credit of an elective. If they do a project, it's about a 2 to 3 minute short video where they decide to pick a question and they are able to research it on their own on the tour if the district allows it as an elective credit. Students can also take a 3 college credit course. It's 16 weeks over the summer. I believe it's about $300 to $400 students can take. And it looks at just like their experience of traveling, what they have learned. And EF also offers essay guides too, if students would like to include their traveling in an essay in the future for applying for college. So this trip actually is a trip I have traveled with EF. EF has multiple sister companies. So I've actually been on this exact same trip with the adult version of it. And I've been to all these places.
I would not want to take my students to a place that I have never been to. I want to make sure that I felt safe when I was there and I had a phenomenal experience. So students would be going to Berlin, to Dresden, Prague, Auschwitz, Krakow, the Tatra Mountains, and Budapest. These are the travel dates. We're looking at late in July, so from July 22nd to the 31st of 2025. And then we have the earliest departure date and then the latest return rate. We'll know about 2 to 3 months beforehand what the exact dates would be for our numbers, but EF likes to have a general calendar just in case, because they want to make sure that they give us the cheapest flights, the most bang for our buck. So what is included in this tour for EF? They have round trip affair. You have hotel, not hostel, so they are staying at actual hotels. They have meals included too. You have a director who is with you 24/7. They will be in hotels. They will be on the charter bus with you too. We have a charter bus that will take us from all these different countries. The tour guide is with us the entire time. And then we will also have local tour guides too while we're at these places. So if we're in Berlin, we will have our tour guide plus a local tour guide from Berlin with us. We also have guided sightseeing tours and entrances to landmarks and attractions too.
Do you speak German?
I do.
Oh, I have a niece that's fluent.
Oh, awesome.
Maybe she might be a guide.
So this is what the families would be responsible for. So they would be responsible for getting a passport, any type of baggage fees. If a lot of these EF mostly travels through American, all the flights I've been with EF has been through American. I know if you take a full-on check-in bag, they do charge you, but not for a carry-on. My students, when we went to DC for the 5 days, brought a carry-on and they had extra room too. Strategically, you can pack a 10-day trip into a carry-on. It's just, having packing cubes. And I know you might look at me like I'm crazy, but with students and stuff, we can do it. I've had friends that have done it. Other teachers have done it too. And then tips for local tour guides, bus drivers, etc., and then some snacks. So everything we get, so the students, everything we talked about getting on the tour, the students also get flexible payment options. They can pay just manually. They can also do a scheduled payment to an automatic payment plan, which is really affordable for a lot of parents because people see these dollar signs and they get a little bit, scared about how much it costs. So when you have these flexible payment plans, it makes it much more manageable for families to do it. We also have a global travel protection. So this looks at any type of insurance if the student is traveling and somehow gets hurt and they have to take it to the hospital. They have insurance for them too. They also have baggage claim insurance too. So if something happens to the luggage, EF will cover it too. You have safety and support. They have a 24/7 safety and incident response team, a peace of mind program, and so much more. So this is the payment options. Watch me, it looks so weird. Okay, there we go. So this is kind of how much the payment we're looking at. So bi-weekly is probably about $80 to $90. We have the monthly paying in full and then with a discount. And so the reason why I picked 2025 is that it would make it much more feasible for families. I know in 6 months, this would be very difficult. But with having it a year and a half out, because I would like to give as many students as we can this amazing opportunity. So with this, it would make it much more feasible for parents. Like I said, the biweekly and the monthly, that is the automatic payment plan. Parents can enroll and they can just, if they want to manually pay it off, they can. And then EF also includes discounts too for early enrollment. So fundraising. So I have some ideas from fundraising, just from talking to other teachers, talking to teachers at Brown Deer, and then just fundraising I did when I was in school. World's Finest Chocolate, local restaurants. We have City Tins Milwaukee, Collectivo Coffee, pledge funders. So many different things that we can have families and our students get involved in to make this an amazing experience. EF also has a global citizenship scholarship that the students can apply for. They award up to 10 students with $1,000 scholarship. I had a student on my last trip that got a $250 scholarship, which, covered quite a bit for her. So that was great too. And it's just applying for it and then they just select students. EF also has a traveler donation page. A lot of my students did this too, where if there was their birthday or holidays coming up, they could send this link and then the family members could donate money to the trip for their birthday or for Christmas or for anything like that. So like I said, for each traveler, they get a global protection, which includes like coverage for baggage, property, trip cancellation, anything happens where, a parent loses their job and they can't afford to, keep up with the payments. EF refunds them the money. We have global protection plan, which is for cancellation up to 24 hours prior. So we have global citizen scholarships, like I talked about, and then we have customizable tour fundraising page where the students can kind of get a checklist where they can look at passports and other information that they would need to get done before the trip. So a pre-meeting communication. So I'm looking at sending out emails with families about travels opportunities through emails in class. Clarifying what resources group leaders can use. So we have posters that EF sent me. I'll be hanging up around the hallways too. And I will be using the LRC hopefully for a meeting to present this information to our families. Schools are not responsible for any of the payments at all too. The school is kind of a leadway to get these students into taking this trip. But the families would be the one who is the ones who'd be paying for the opportunity for them. This is what the invite looks like. They would get a link that just says like Adventure Awaits in Europe, just kind of giving them a broad detail. This is the date I have proposed with approval with Principal Brown, Tuesday, February 13th in the LRC from 6 to 7. And it just gives a little bit of blurb about that we're excited to have this trip, this opportunity for students, and look at exactly the trip itinerary, what the kids will be seeing, also how to achieve an academic credit if they would like to, the affordability, and the excitement of the trip itself. That is my presentation.
I will just also add, Mia came to me and we met in November of last year, but she had reached out a couple months before that.
Yes.
And so Mia, myself, and Abby from EF Tours, we met. And for those of you who were not on the board at the time, when COVID hit, we had a Germany trip planned for our students, and parents and families had purchased vouchers for the students to attend the trip. And so we know we had to cancel the trip. And what ultimately happened was the district purchased the vouchers back from the parents. And so when we speak of the vouchers, those are the dollars that we have for parents to be able to take advantage of, to be able to, for students to go on this trip. And I was excited when Mia came to me and asked. I think it's a wonderful opportunity for students to learn outside of the four walls. But with that being said, it would be important for us to note the families would purchase so we bought vouchers back from the families who are going to Germany. And so families who are interested in their children going on this trip would purchase the vouchers from the district. We still have holding on to the vouchers. And essentially they have extended the dates for us a couple times here. And so we want to be mindful of hopefully not losing those dollars and providing an opportunity for our students to take a wonderful trip moving forward. And so tonight, Mia is looking for, well, if you have any questions, certainly feel free to ask. We're looking for approval to move forward with beginning to recruit students and meet with parents to get a head start on 2025. Will probably be here before we know it.
Yes.
So she can get a head start on making this work.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering, who were the students that were going to go on the trip?
Yeah, so I'm looking at current 8th graders. I have approval from Principal Young to move forward with 8th grade, freshmen and sophomores. The reason why I'm not offering this trip to juniors and seniors is by this time they would be 18, which is the legal drinking age.
Right.
And I don't really want to be worried about that. And then having students who are underage, so just kind of as a safety net, only allowing it to those specific grades.
How many students are you thinking will take advantage of this?
We can have up to 41 exactly, because we get free spots for chaperones. The most we can have is 47, but we can have up to 6 chaperones, so 41 students. I went to DC with 45 students, and then I had another 10 chaperones. So I've traveled with large groups, and if I can take 41 students on this amazing opportunity, I will take all 41 students.
So 41 students,
That's
6
the max.
chaperones, so
Yeah.
a total of 47.
There can be parents too, so that you can have like adult paying travelers too, can also to go, because I had that when I was in middle school where some of the parents were not comfortable with, if my daughter or son wants to travel, I would like to travel with them. EF also allows that too. So you can have parents come along too as chaperones too. So you can have a higher number of chaperones too. It's just 41 paying travelers. That includes students and any adults that would like to go too.
Board members, any other questions?
Only question, thank you.
All right, with that being said, then, any other questions? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
Dr. Vito, I would like to make a motion to approve the Brown Deer Middle High School 2025 International Field Trip as presented.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much, Lisa. All right, motion is made second. Any other discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously, 720. Mia. All right. Take those babies and let them go ahead and be exposed to Europe.
Maybe I can be a chaperone.
For real, yeah, you know, if you need a few.
Well, if she could teach me how to pack the carry-on.
Packing cubes are amazing.
Yeah, that just means my luggage is heavier.
I usually allow the adults to take on the check-in, but with students, I usually would prefer not to.
All right, thank you very much. All right, let's go on to item B, approval of the general education, special education open enrollment seats for the school year 24-25. Mr. Clement.
Good evening, everyone. This is again the final step in the conversation we've had over the last several board meetings. Information provided to you tonight is the same basically that you saw 2 weeks ago. I didn't get any additional questions, so this again, it's the same 2 plans as we review looking at casting our current enrollment forward every year and reserving some spaces for potential new resident students in the district, and also accounting for the number of students that are graduating through the open enrollment program. We are dropping into the high 30s, 38 is what we're projecting to have if we do nothing this year. And obviously, as we talk about fiscal cliffs and revenue and that, we wanted to take a look at the potential of balancing some of that and being able to bring in potentially some more students. We do have, we had 2 models that we projected for you. They're identical with because of the way the current students are lining up with grade levels. We are anticipating a little lower number in 6th grade, a little lower number in 7th grade. So that's where the bulk of the seats would be. Otherwise, they're kind of scattered through 1st grade through 10th grade for a total of 33 additional seats, which would be a total of 71 all inclusive with the ones we currently have. That's model 1, which would keep our staffing at exactly the same level. The second option would be to backfill our 1 low grade that we have at the elementary school, which next year will be 2nd grade. And so we would go from 4 sections to 5. So we would be bringing on a staff member for that. We would want enough students to, offset the cost of the staff member to make it, have it financially make sense. And in that case, we'd be looking at a total of 48 new seats, total of 86 all inclusive. And those are the 2 plans that we presented. Ultimately, the board you can do whatever you would like to do number wise, but we are, those would be the 2 options that we would present to you. A few years ago, we were at 72. So 71 is kind of where we have been before, not that long ago. The 86 number would be a little higher, but again, we have seen a drop off from our September count this year compared to last year. So again, we're still kind of weeding through the way the pandemic has affected where families are living and who's going to school where. So we're still trying to, kind of feel it out and see how, if Brown Deer is continuing to see additional resident students attending or moving into the village that will end up attending. So we're trying to, again, it's a balance act between trying to acquire some additional revenue to help offset the loss of revenue we're going to see next year and filling in some of those seats, but without overwhelming our staff by in any one building by just having more students than we can properly manage. So those are the two options presented tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions, or if the board had the consensus of where they'd like to go.
I guess my only question, Kevin, is was there a reason? Because I think our numbers are going to be, you're projecting to be fairly high for ninth grade, but I was wondering why wouldn't we having any of those open enrollment seats for incoming freshmen?
That's a recommendation from the high school principal, just because ninth grade as a transition year can be challenging to introduce students to a new school environment. And then if you go too far into the high school career, then you have a potential of some credit deficiencies that you're addressing, and you're trying to work with graduation rates and make sure that all of our kids are successful in graduating. So that was a conversation that we had previously. Now, again, if you look at the eighth grade numbers, though, our current eighth grade numbers are at 131. And so moving those forward, we actually are at -1 for potential seats at ninth grade next year. So that's why another reason why we would be adding. Where some of the other grades, like even sixth grade, technically we have room for more, but we weren't going to discuss adding 40 students at that level. We just wanted to keep it a more manageable number, like 15.
Okay, and so we're still only talking about 1 10th grader.
Correct, right. And that 1 10th grader right now is, we do have one tuition waiver student that would potentially take that spot, and they might already be here. Open enrollment process concludes, but that's certainly one possibility. But again, it really comes down to whether the board is comfortable with, expanding, going up a little higher, adding that staff member at the elementary school, and going with that, it'll be a little higher revenue. Either way, you're looking at somewhere between $630,000 to $715,000 probably of total revenue. That's not additional. We're expecting this year to have about $500,000 in revenue. So this would be somewhere in the $150,000 to $200,000 increase in open enrollment.
And so even if we went with model 2, which is the 48 regular seats, I just wanted to make sure that our class sizes aren't going to get over kind of where the sweet spot is anywhere between 20 to 25.
Well, it depends. And we do have the projected class sizes, and we have our recommended class sizes in the table. We use 20 for the early grades, 22 for third through fifth grade, 24 for the middle school, and 26 for the high school. So it graduates as you get older, obviously. And we also, the other thing to keep in mind too is that right now we have 158 seniors. And so that's our largest class, and it's been that way for a while. 11th grade, we only have 142. So we're going to in losing those students, and the difference between our 11th and 12th grade classes, that's going to be seats that will be full, as a total count will be available.
Okay. So we're still looking at, which even if we went with model 2, we still would be looking at those class sizes, and we wanted to make sure that the class sizes are smaller, more manageable.
Right. If you look, when you look at the potential seat column, you'll see anything that's negative. We're not really talking about a seat. The one that we are is the first grade, where we already have a first grade tuition waiver that would be moving over. So it'd just be basically keeping a student potentially. So that's a really negligible change. But anywhere else where you see, -11, -1, we're not including seats at those levels at all. So.
Right.
Again, it is a guess because we don't know how many students will enroll. And we do have a pad for that. So again, we do have seats allowed for new students. We don't expect to have 125 new students, but we have enough at each grade level to make sure that any one grade level wouldn't be negatively impacted by a little bit of bubble.
Okay. All right. Questions? I don't know, Ms. Peterson?
Yes. Does the model 2, maybe even model 1, if I'm thinking about my question, does either one of them have an impact on curriculum and the costs associated with curriculum?
No.
Okay.
No, the biggest piece is staffing, and just trying to decide whether you got that extra staff member.
Right.
I said no questions. I made up my mind earlier today already when I read through everything.
Oh, okay.
I don't have any questions.
All right. Anybody else? Any other questions before we go to decide whether or not we looking at model 1 or model 2?
And then just to clarify, so you'll decide between those two motions, that's what you want to do for regular education seats. And then we do not, with the advent of our, with Director of Pupil Services, we do not have any seats available for special education, which is what we've done in the past as well. Again, if students do the regular open enrollment process, if they are selected and they do have an IEP, our registrar works with our Director of Pupil Services to see if the needs can be met with our current program offerings, and if they can, we would let them in. If not, then eventually we deny them and move to another student on a list. So it's not that we would necessarily have students with IEPs, but it would be someone that would fit in the program that we currently are.
All right. So with that being said, board members, which model would you prefer the most? How many would think model number 1? And how many believe in model number 2? All right. So it seems as though that would someone like to make a motion to approve model 2?
I will make a motion to approve a total of 48 regular education seats, including 1 first grade seat, 15 second grade seats, 1 fourth grade seat, 2 fifth grade seats, 15 sixth grade seats, 10 seventh grade seats, 3 eighth grade seats, and 1 10th grade seat for the 2024-25 school year. And I'm sorry, is that separate?
It's separate.
It's separate. It's separate. All right. All right. Motion has been made. Do we have a second? All right. Motion has been made and seconded by Ms. Robinson. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor will raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously 7-0 for model 2 and the approval of 48 regular education seats. All right. Let's go on to our next.
Special education.
Do we even need to do? All right.
Make a motion for 0 seats.
Right. Would someone like to make a motion?
Motion to approve 0 special education seats for the 2024-25 school year.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I will second that motion.
Thank you very much, Ms. Peterson. Motion made and seconded. Any other further discussion? Here you can see none. All in favor will raise hand and/or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can see none. Motion carries unanimously 7-0.
Thank you very much.
All right. Let's go on to our next item is for the discussion of the 24-25 K4 and the K5 through 12th grade instructional calendars.
Yes, just providing a brief update. We are still working on the calendar. Suggested at the last meeting, we were able to place them in the staff lounges for the teachers to be able to provide feedback. We're still sifting through the feedback. Our goal is to have calendars see you in February. So still working on it.
Okay. All right. That doesn't put us behind anywhere or anything, or
no, we'll still be in a good
spot.
Good place.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right. Let's go on to our item number D, approval of resignations.
We have 1 resignation tonight. It is not a surprise, but it is a formality that we have to do as a board. We have to accept the resignation of Dr. Monica Kelsey Brown as administrator effective 2020.
All right. I don't know. Everybody got an opportunity to see her, Dr. Brown's letter, right?
Yes.
All right. I don't know if you'd want to read that for the community debate here, or was that also sent out as well too? I don't know. I'm just asking because if we can. Because I'd like for anybody in the audience who didn't see it and anybody that's online or whatever to hear what you said.
Dear Brown Deer School Board, I'm writing to express my deepest gratitude for the incredible 9 years of service I have had the privilege of contributing to the school district of Brown Deer, 4 of them serving as district administrator. Working alongside such a dedicated and passionate community has been an honor, and I am truly grateful for the experiences, growth, and cherished memories that have enriched my professional journey. Please accept this as my official letter of resignation as the District Administrator of the School District of Brown Deer. Effective July 1, 2024, I will begin serving as District Administrator for the Wanakee Community School District. And while I'm excited about this new opportunity, leaving Brown Deer is bittersweet, and I will always hold the memories and relationships formed here close to my heart. I extend my appreciation to the board for your unwavering support, guidance, and commitment to the success of our students. Your vision and leadership have played a pivotal role in shaping the district into a beacon of educational excellence. To the parents and families of Brown Deer, thank you for entrusting me with the education and well-being of your children. Your partnership and engagement have created a nurturing and supportive learning environment. I'm also grateful for the dedication and hard work of administrators, teachers, and staff members who have tirelessly contributed to student success. Your passion for education and commitment to fostering a positive learning environment have made a lasting impact on the lives of countless young minds. And last but certainly not least, I want to express my heartfelt appreciation to our incredible students. Your curiosity, resilience, and enthusiasm for learning have been a constant source of inspiration. It has been a privilege to witness your growth and achievements over the years. I depart with fond memories as I embark on my new journey. I will remember lessons learned, friendships forged, and the shared commitment to educational excellence. I wish you success and continued elevation and promotion of academic outcomes for years to come. Monica Kelsey Brown, District Administrator.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelsey Brown. And I think, speak from everyone wishes you well on your next journey, but we still have work to do while we're still here. So we're going to continue to move that needle forward. All right. I don't know. People want to say something before we go to the vote. I mean, again, we know that this was already coming or whatever, but if anyone wanted to say something in public board members before we go into the motion.
Yeah, I do. I do want to say and add to what our president just said, Dr. Brown. We appreciate the work that you've done. I've been on this board for a good 3.5 years now and have watched you move. Perfection is not in any of us, but we've been able to see you work your hardest and work your best at trying to make Brown School the best that it can be. And I read this and I thought, where is she going? Because we have 5 more months of work to do. And we want your continued love and support and all that you've always given to Brown Deer. We know that it's going to continue for the next 5 months. And then after that, our arms are open. You're always a Brown Deer member of this society and of this small world that we all exist in here in Brown Deer. And I just wanted to say that we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well, with that being said, would someone like to make a motion?
Right. Motion. Gratitude to you, Dr. Brown, and your leadership and lots of direction your way. We'll make a motion to approve the resignation of Dr. Monica Kelsey Brown as District Administrator of the School District Brown Deer effective June 30th, 2020.
All right, thank you very much. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
So what happens if no one seconds it?
Technically, we can do whatever we want, but she's gonna tell us to get right. All right. Do we have a second?
A second.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, motion's been made and seconded. Any other further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all in favor, raise hand and/or aye. Any opposed? Hearing and seeing none, motion carries 7-0. I don't even want to say it once, Falcon always a Falcon. So she already knows. She's heard this one 1 million times. All right, so let's go on to our next item. We have Mr. Clement, do we have any hires?
We have no new hires.
We have no new hires. Good thing. All right, now let's go on to our next item, retirements.
We do have one retirement. Dave Sampe, our high school science teacher, has submitted his request for retirement at the end of the 23-24.
All right. Would someone like to make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion, but I just have a question. How long has he been with Brown Deer?
What?
Well, he came in 2012.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he was my son's teacher. Yeah, so 12, because, yeah. So what is that, 12 years? All right. All right, so would someone like to make a motion?
Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion to approve the retirement of Dave Sampe as a high school science teacher effective June 7th, 2014.
All right, motion has been made. Do we have a second? 2024.
I said 14.
Yeah, you know, when you did a time work.
Okay. Okay. June 7th, 2024.
All right, thank you very much for speaking. The motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Z. All right, motion has been made and second. Any discussion? I just want to say that Mr. Zimmer, he wonderful teacher. I know he actually had my son and everything, so that's the reason why I know. I mean, a good man cares about the children, making sure that they educate at the high level and stuff. And he will be missed, but you know, good things for him for his next endeavor, which is retirement. I know. All right. So with that being said, all in favor will raise hand and/or aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can see none. Motion carries 7-2-0. Well, he wasn't online, was it?
Who did the second on that?
I don't.
Nicole did the second.
Thank you.
Oh, he's not on? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. All right, let's go on to our next item. Discussion of our January pupil count. Mr. Clement.
Yeah, we do the January pupil count. Again, it's the also known as the second Friday count in January every year. This is our equalization aid payment, or how they calculate. They take the average of the September count and January count will be part of our aid next year. We had a little bit of a wrinkle this year in that the second Friday was a snowstorm, and certainly a worse one than we had on Tuesday. So we put in a request. DPI has a process in case an alternate date has to be selected. We did pick Thursday, the day before, so we'll be using January 11th as our count date, which again means that we're looking for students who were here on January 11th, or students that were here one day before and one day after, at some point between now and the time we file the report at the end of the week. So all of those students will get counted, and then we submit that to the state, and again, that'll be part of our part of the calculation for our equalization aid for the next week. So we're working through that. Kathy Kelser, who we honored earlier as our accountant, somehow she has she's been doing that job since she moved into the district office and has been handling the pupil count. And she's organized that because she has to track every student, all the ins and outs. So when students leave between September and January, she has to be able to note those. And when students come in, that all has to be noted so that if there's ever a membership audit, it's not a pleasant experience. She has all of the documentation for all that. So she's working through that with the help of obviously all the attendance secretaries at the buildings, and we'll be filing that report at the end of the day on Friday.
Imagine that whole week was probably difficult.
Well, yeah, and so when we had we were thinking about what do we do? Well, fortunately that was right before the storm, the big storm, and then so we could have gone, and then Monday was MLK Day. And then Tuesday, we had high school exams, so then the attendance is a little harder to track because they're in and out taking exams. And then it got really cold, and I think some kids. So we're probably better off sticking going with the Thursday date. So that was what we, as a group, decided in DPI.
So that date was decided after all of the weather events.
We actually met on Wednesday that week, and we were talking about what we were going to do because of those other situations. We kind of said treat Thursday like it could be the date in case we're not here on Friday, and then we didn't come in on Friday, and so that's.
So was that a standard rule with DPI for every year, or was that something new as a result of the potential weather issues that were?
Yeah, their policy for an unplanned closure is that it usually should be the day before or day after. That's and if you do that, I think they don't question it all. Secretary Underly has sent an email out saying that they were going to be flexible in
That's
case,
what I wanted.
in case there were other dates that were necessary. But again, when you get into the really, when you get cold and again with exams going on,
Yeah.
we just felt like the Thursday was going to be our best, because we want to capture as many students being here as possible because that limits the work we have to do on after. We thought that was our best shot.
I was just wondering how that was handled, because as I sat and watched Friday and all of the district closures rolling across the
Yeah.
bottom of the screen and knowing that that was count days.
I would assume almost
everybody went through that one.
Exactly.
Switching. And again, depending on it, maybe some of them did Tuesday, some did Thursday, then they may have picked other dates in between if they thought it was.
But you have used a virtual day for that day? If you wanted to do that, that was an option. I don't know.
Use a virtual day. Our challenge with virtual is just making sure all of our students have, we wouldn't have been able, Kara only has 3 people on her team, so we wouldn't have been able to have devices ready to
for that
go.
day. But just
for learning.
overall, was that an option that you could have used?
We have in the past. So when we were doing the AB days, and we're in the AB cohorts and things, there were kids that were virtual that year, we did have a count date, and then as long as they were virtual one day before and one day after, that counted.
Right.
I'm not sure. I mean, I think if you have a regular virtual program, obviously that's allowed. I don't know. We'd have to probably ask the
Yeah,
guy.
that's okay. I was just curious. I was waiting to hear when we talked about this, how that was actually handled. So
Because it was crazy, because think about it, it was that both days that was actually supposed to happen, school was closed.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Think about one of our North Shore area districts. It wasn't a factor for them, so they already had it built in that they're just gonna be virtual. So that day is now this is in terms of makeup days, right?
Yeah.
Not snow days,
Right.
you go virtual, then those days count. It is hard to track the kids though if it's a count day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you kind of think about the risk to benefit in terms of doing that. But we knew we couldn't get devices to the kids that quick.
definitely
But-
not. Okay, great.
All right.
So I'll have numbers for you at the next meeting, whatever it is that we file.
Okay. All right, let's go on to item H, our 24-25 budget update.
This is my last item of the evening, hopefully. I did put a several page memo on in front of your thoughts this evening for your review. Basically, I'm in the process of working through a number of things regarding this year's budget and starting to plan for next year. And I just wanted to have, for lack of a better term, like a philosophical conversation with the board about how to approach budgeting for this upcoming school year. So this is a reminder, as we've been talking about, we do have this looming fiscal cliff that everybody talks about. And the primary cause of that is that we had all this COVID money, including ESSER dollars, and we're in the middle of using ESSER 3, which is about $1.1 million that we have access to this year that we'll lose access to in September. So we have to make sure we spend the money between now and September. The state, a couple of years ago, did not, they provided $0 increases over the course of that time, saying you have all this federal money, go use it to pay for the schools. And then when they did pass a budget next year, they provided $325 per student increases in the revenue limit, which was historically high, but didn't make up for inflation that we're going through now and the time that we had $0. So schools are starting now to come to the ramification of what that means when the money just isn't keeping up with the expenses. So again, this is very rough, which is early projection. So we're still going through some more modeling on what our enrollment will look like next year. And we've seen this conversation before, basically, where we will have an increase in the revenue limit next year based on the 325 count. And then I am anticipating, because of the 3-year average, we will see a little higher count as well. So I'm projecting approximately a $650,000 increase in the revenue limit part. Part of our revenue limit this year was the $241,000 that we had for taxes, rescinded taxes that we had to pay back. So that's on our limit this year. That isn't going to be there next year. And then the other piece is what our prior year open enrollment is. And that, again, is the number of students that are determined to be open enrollment, but we don't count in September. So they give us the ability to add to the revenue limit the following year. So that's a conservative drop off of about $50,000 for that. So we're looking at potentially an increase in total of about $360,000 with a net increase in the revenue limit. But then there are other things that are outside of the revenue limit. And one of those is the ESSER funding. So the ESSER 3, where we're talking about $1.1 million, that goes away. So that money is no longer available. Now tonight, I took a chance on this one, but the open enrollment in number, that's the number that you guys picked with the Model 2. So potentially an increase of about $200,000 in open enrollment that helps reduce that deficit. And then one of the new things that we talked about when I passed the original budget, but we didn't have a lot of details on, for these mental health grants. And so one of the things that's working with Ms. Ramos is that we're going to get about $55,000 for helping support mental health. So this might help support our SEL team, which has up until now been paid through ESSER funds. So this is another way of offsetting some of that reduction. So right now, without doing anything on the increase side, just doing what we're currently doing, we're looking at about a $500,000 shortfall. Now there are other things that are happening that will have a positive impact as well. And just one example is we did contract out our custodial staff at the elementary school starting in January. So we're going to see a savings next year. I'm projecting of about $150,000 for that building. We obviously still have our staff at the middle high school. That'll still be the staff with our folks. But that savings, because we're never able to fill all those positions and all the subbing costs that we had, I'm anticipating we'll have some money there. So again, that helps shrink that deficit a little bit more. And there'll be other things as we go. The other part, so we go down to the second part of this memo, is talking about just the variable revenue that we have based on claims. So just as a reminder, there's a lot of things that are fixed. We get a tax levy, we get the per pupil aid, we get our revenue, all of that is kind of set. But we also get these grant allowances, including title funds, IDEA, and things like that, where we get an allotment every year and we use what we want to use, and we claim expenses against that, and then whatever is left over can roll into the next year. And so you can kind of be creative with your finances. If you don't need to claim everything in one year, you hold off, and then that money will be available the next year, which again is another way to increase revenue. And I don't know what the allotments will be. They generally will increase as well. So our Title I money might go up a little bit next year anyway. So then if we have that and some rollover, again, additional money to help support our overall revenue. So just showing you in general, I mean, that's a significant amount of money when you're looking at potentially $2 million of our revenues coming out of these grants. And so again, how this year ends, what our allocations are next year, we can kind of be creative in how we allocate those funds and try to, if we can, push as much as we can into fiscal year 25 to help mitigate that loss. Again, the ESSER 3 funds have to be spent by September. So we're looking at either taking all those monies this year, or if we do have a large single purchase that we can do right at the beginning of summer, say if there is a curriculum purchase that we need to do and we haven't needed to use all of the ESSER funding in this fiscal year, we could wait until July, buy it using those funds, and then that would be the end of what we use, and then those resources would be available for next year. So that'd be a way of, again, having some money moved over into next year, which will change again what that deficit looks like. All of the other grants, there's a rollover. We get a full year on that. So any money we don't use in Title I or Title II or IDEA this year, we have another full year to use the following year. So again, we'll have some time to use those funds. From a performance standpoint so far for this year's budget, I'm in the process of creating kind of a new budget monitoring system for myself that's more real time, and I can really see all of the different departments and budget lines, and I'm sharing those Google dashboards that we're creating, and I'm sharing those with department heads. But looking right now as I'm getting it, I'm fine tuning the last steps. I feel like we are probably in a situation where we're going to have another positive year. A lot of it is we have a number of staffing positions that have remained open. Some have been open all year. Some we went a half a year before we were able to find someone, so the savings were kind of netted out there. There are some additional costs, facilities and grounds, get some more stuff coming. That's been a little bit of a challenge. I think against math, we've had some breakage. Some things have been breaking down, and we've had to deal with those. So we are kind of working through that. But I do anticipate we're going to have another year where there'll be some money left over that would be available for a Fund 10 surplus. So that just continues this streak where we've had of several years where we've had money left over and we've built our Fund 10 balance. And so then you see the chart as well that shows that growth, that basically since 2018, we've doubled our fund balance. And right now it's at $6.2 million. If we're able to throw a couple $100,000 in there at the end of this year, it'll be at 6.4, which is going to be well over the board policy. So the question then comes down to when you're approaching a deficit like we're doing, and there's a lot of things that are kind of up in the air. We don't know what the state's going to do in another year when a new budget is presented. Obviously, and there'll be some changes in the legislature. We'll probably have new legislative maps. It might change the makeup or certainly the philosophy of the legislature potentially could shift a little bit. And maybe they're a little more supportive of education. Maybe they realize that they want to, they realize the impact that inflation has had. Hard to tell. So that could be coming down the pipe. You know, we also have other things that we're going to look at in trying to make sure that we are examining our costs and saving money. But at the same time, we have a new strategic plan that we've adopted, and we know that we need to focus on things, our key performance indicators that we've highlighted, and things like retaining staff, making sure we have our curriculum and technology plans intact, and things like that. We want to make sure we're investing in those things. So the question is, when you run into a situation like this, where you're experiencing a little bit of a deficit, and there's certainly schools that are, you know, forecasting much worse situations than we are. You know, we either go to a place where we decide that we're uncomfortable with anything other than a balanced budget, and we say we're going to cut until we get to the point where we're at a projected, you know, $0, and we're going to live there. That's how we're going to start the year. My concern with that, and frankly, I mean, and I'd like to take credit for having these budgets over the last 3 years that I've been here, and certainly the ones before where it's been super positive. Some of it is just luck. I mean, if you want to call it luck, or just happenstance of the fact that when you do have staff openings that take a while, that's a big opportunity of where those savings are. And so the question is that something that we're going to see kind of every year regardless? We may still have positions that are hard to fill. Takes us a little while to do it, and so some money is saved, and then that money helps provide somewhat of a surplus. You hate to go into, you know, years and years and years of having these surpluses. Now we've saved some money. We have a great fund balance. I was on the board when we were at 10% of our revenues, and now we're close to 20. We're in the mid 20s, so it's either 23, 24%. So we've done a good job of saving money. So the question is, you know, do you cut to the point where you're at zero, you know, we're at a balanced budget, potentially overcutting, you're still having a surplus at some point, and then one of the things that you've given up where you could have done something, and what have you lost in that year while you do it? Or do you kind of, I don't want to say roll the dice, but do you be strategic and make sure you're investing in the certain aspects of our strategic plan, like I mentioned when I talked about staff retention and things like that, and say we're willing to accept a budget that has a slight deficit to it, knowing that our fund balance is large enough that we can easily absorb that for in the short term, for maybe a year or so, to see how the rest of everything shakes out, to continue the work that we're doing, to continue moving forward and not feel like we have to sacrifice. And again, we'd still be looking at things. We'd still be taking a hard look to see if there are things that we need to make adjustments to. But again, in the interest of maintaining our staff, retaining our staff, of keeping the investments going in our district, if the board is willing, I would like to recommend that we take that second approach. It's not where I would normally come from a fiscal standpoint, but because we've had these years of success, I think we have an opportunity to use the savings that we've had over the years to buy us a little bit of time to see what's going to happen. And if we end up to a point where the deficits continue to get bigger, or we look at it, then it might be time that we need to ask for help. And that's, you know, the questions that, you know, we've been starting to struggle with. If the state funding isn't going to be there, you know, do we need to ask for help? But I do feel like we'd have to show that we need help before we get to that point. I don't know that you can have 7 years of surpluses and then also ask for help. I think you have to show and show it in a reasonable way. And I think that's the way we would approach the budget, of trying to keep our staff, you know, keeping our staff in place and keeping the same opportunities for students. So again, being cautious about how we do it. So again, this is like a philosophical thought. If the board was dead set against that concept and said, we want to balance budget next year, we want to leave fund balance where it is, then we have a lot of hard conversations to have over the next several months to get to that point. But if we are being a little bit more flexible and a little bit more comfortable with saying, you know what, we've done our part over the last several years, in addition to the Fund 10 balance that we've saved, we've put money aside in Fund 46, we've prepaid debt, we've done a good job as fiscal stewards, and part of it now is that we have this extra money. Let's use some of it, not all, use some of it first before we get to a point where we decide we need, additional resources from the community, if that's what ultimately happens. The vast majority of districts nowadays are either currently on operating referendum or preparing for operating referendum. A number of them are going out. MPS has a huge one that they have on the ballot in April. I don't know whether we need to get there, but I would certainly feel better about asking after we have a year where we can show, here's what we've done with our salaries for our staff, and you can see how it compares to other districts, and here's where we need to go, and that requires resources. Here's what we've done with curriculum. Here's what we've done with technology. Here's what we've done with our facilities, and just make sure that we're showing them that we are making those investments in the right spots, and just recognizing the fact, again, that this formula has not been conducive in this environment where inflation is skyrocketing, the pressure on employment is very high, and salaries. And so it's like, what can we do to kind of show that we're still moving in that direction, and then demonstrate the fact that we may need help. And so I would like to suggest that we kind of plan, and I'm not saying ignore what the revenue is going to look like, but focus on some of the strategic things first, and let's make sure we get those done and feel comfortable. And then, just know that we could go in, and I don't know what it'll be like. It'll, in June, things can shift a little bit, but the plan would be that potentially in June, you would approve a preliminary budget that would have a deficit to it. And then again, we'd adjust it over the summer and all that, but be prepared for that potential outcome. Because those are two completely different scenarios of where you want us to go and what the work that I'll be doing over the next several months will be, whether it's, doing cuts to get to that point, which would be no doubt noticeable and severe, or are we able to kind of move forward to some extent and kind of write it out for a year and see what happens.
I have a question.
Okay.
Okay, with the students that we're recruiting or we're allowing in for the open enrollment, what type of money do you think will be coming in there?
So that's that $200,000 difference roughly.
Okay.
Again, that's using regular education numbers. If some of them have IEPs, that number changes a little bit. So I'm just using a conservative chunk of that we'd get about $200,000 of additional revenue for those students. That's part of the first chart at the top of that page with the open enrollment in, where I showed 200,000.
Yeah. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm just wondering, does DPI allow for us to report negative budget?
Mm-hmm.
We do. Do you know of any of your colleagues around the different districts that have ever reported or finalized a negative budget?
Well, often when you do operating referendum, especially when you do a fixed amount, you are planning for the future, and you're looking at because you're looking at a fixed amount, and you plan that amount based on where you want to be at the end of the 6 years. And so usually that means you're going to be putting money into fund balance early on. You're asking for more than you need in those early years, and then you're using more than you're getting in later years. So you're actually going to see your fund balance kind of do this, and you target what your end goal is at the end. Now, if you have favorable years, you end up bending that curve a little bit, but it is potentially that you could end up, back where you are. You could end up basically where you started, or wherever the board decides to end up. So again, if we're looking at right now, we have $6.2 million in our fund balance. If we end up putting, our goal was to get at least $241,000 back in. We may do better than that. So if we end up at 6.3 or 4 or 5, even if we went $1 million in the red, you'd be at 5.5 million, which is still over 20%. It's still within, but still exceeds board policy. And at a certain point, people might say, "Why do you have so much money in fund balance?" Too. So I think it's a fair compromise to try to figure out, like, how do we move forward? How do we get how do we make sure we're investing in the right things and not shortchange those things for a year and then to negatively impact us. You know, we could, again, go to $0 balanced budget and maybe you can't do a lot of things that you want to do and you lose staff and, you know, and other things. And then we kind of get set back. Even more so, just not even financially, we're fine, but institutionally, we have a bunch of new issues that we're addressing. So I think, you know, if we had $3 million in fund balance, I wouldn't be saying this, but I think we've done really well over the last few years, and you could certainly argue that that money could have been spent on other things during that time. So I think now would be a time to certainly continue to look at that and go forward. So really what I need, and to be fair, I know that the timing of this is a little weird because we do have an election in April, so we, you know, 2 of you will be here. So while I value your opinion, I really need to make sure that the other 5, because I don't know what the new 2 board members may feel, to change course in April would be challenging. So if the board members that we, you know, expect to be here after April are all in agreement that we do want to move forward in that kind of style. And again, we'll talk about what that deficit would look like, and you'd certainly have some ability to decide whether it should be here or whatever. But if you're dead set against it at all, I would want to know that sooner rather than later. But at least the 5 of you that will be here are comfortable, and I know that we can move forward, and that June we'd be able to approve a budget, to work on that budget. We wouldn't have to make a 180 shift, you know, at the end of the spring. So.
Right. Well, again, this is just me thinking, my recommendation would be is to just come up with the budget as you think it needs to be or whatever and stuff. And then I guess when we get to June and some of these other different dates or whatever, we'll be able to potentially cross those bridges when we get there. You know, I'd rather err on the side of being like, okay, let's go ahead and put the regular budget out, because we, as you said before, sometimes we don't end up with certain staffing. There's all these other things that end up happening. So put together, to me, I would say, put the budget together the way that you envision it, with the staffing and everything else that needs to happen. And it can be the negative budget. And then we turn back around and we look back at it again in June. And then we'll know a little bit more.
Yeah, because what I am really kind of saying is, and we would talk about this more next month, but I would maybe ask you to make some decisions that you would normally wait to do when you had a better sense of the financial picture. But if you, again, feel comfortable that if we're putting the right dollars in the right place, and then let's, you know, if it has to come out of fund balance, it comes out of fund balance. I certainly wouldn't ask you to spend money on something frivolous, but if it is, if it's important enough that we feel like, because there is a different approach we want to take this year, and again, we'll discuss it next month, but if that's possible, you could be committing to something that we don't know what the end result will be, but I think it would be positive for the district as a whole. So that's why I'm throwing out these. So if you're comfortable with that, then I will approach that way. I'll keep you up to date. And again, we'll have one number in June. That's again a preliminary budget. As things settle down, and then we know what our student count is in September, everything changes for the annual meeting and the final budget that you do in October. But I think we're at a place where I think other districts are going to be a little bit more challenged, and we'll have to make some tougher decisions. I think we can wait a little bit to do that. I think it would make sense to do that.
So you mentioned the potential of drastic cuts. Are there any particular areas that you preliminarily have in mind that would happen?
We would be looking at everything. I mean, you know, there could be positions that are, certainly your first choice would be positions that are unfilled, but, you know, we would have to look at the numbers and see if there were things that we just couldn't afford to do. I don't, you know, the 75 to 80% of our budget is staffing. So, you know, we'd have to look at certain things and see if it makes sense to have all those positions remain filled. I don't know. It wouldn't be easy, because we do, working here, we know that we're all kind of doing multiple different things, and we're all working very hard. So to lose someone, you know, could be even more challenging. So I do feel like that's why I feel like we're in a place where we can continue operating kind of in the same mode, and let's see what another year looks like. I think that would be good. And even it demonstrates to the community how we're functioning. So if we decide to do the cut thing, we'll be starting to have those conversations, and the board would obviously be a part of it. But those are tough things. There are things that you really want to do, you really think are important, but something's got to give at some point. So I'd like to try to minimize that as much as possible if we can.
All right. Actually, you weren't looking for a motion or anything. You were just
I
doing.
just would like everyone to kind of look at me and give me their comments.
So does everybody agree with just going with option number 2 that he said, just putting together the budget as
we
feel, and then we'll turn back around and we will revisit it in a couple months and everything else like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we will work very hard to bring it in as close as possible.
Yeah. And then the other thing too is, but that one is Kevin would never get any sleep if he was trying to figure out and trying to balance that thing out right now. He wouldn't get any sleep.
I won't get sleep when I'm knowing it's negative the whole year, so that'll be fine. But I'm willing to do that because I think it's important enough to it's when all the effort we put in that strategic plan. I would hate to then have to have a year where you had to not do a lot of it because of this, especially like I said, when we have resources available that we could still continue to do things. So I'd like to give it a shot for, like I said, for at least a year and then.
All right.
Forget that we are also paying well on the referendum.
That's the reason why we got the budget.
Right.
Because we've actually been paying down debt. And so we're saving money on the interest.
Yeah, right.
Yep, we are saying, and again, that's, and
Can't forget
obviously food servers for doing things and that, I mean, there are some things that don't impact, the operational piece, but there are positive things that we are doing to make sure that we're spending our resources wisely. So I do appreciate that guidance. And if you have any questions at any point in time, please don't hesitate to reach out. We'll have a lot of conversations between now and certainly June and then October. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, let's go on to our next item is our discussion and approval of baseball, softball field upgrades. All right. Oh, organizational audit update, because I didn't see any papers. So
I had an opportunity to reach out to Jeremy Bill again from CISA 5. Saying that you can continue with the organizational audit and he's willing to come back on board to conduct the organizational audit. But his question to the board is, with the transitioning of me and the new superintendent, how would you like to proceed?
I would actually almost want to wait until we get the new superintendent on board.
I think we should,
Let's wait till we get the new superintendent on board, and then, they'll actually, then I think we should be able to move forward with it there.
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. I guess that's why I didn't see anything. Because I'm sitting there like, I didn't see it. All right, let's go on to, like I said, I'm sorry. Let's go on to our item number J, discussion and approval of baseball, softball field updates. Would that be Matt or would that be Gerald?
Mr. Gerald, both of us, we'll let Gerald take the.
So, I believe he got this already at a time, but basically, both the baseball and softball field both have several issues that's been an ongoing issue, where we have tried to internally address them, but to no avail. That's why I'm coming before you right now, where basically we're putting our student athletes at risk in terms of being hurt because of the condition of the field. And so I talked with Matt, and they got 4 different quotes, because we were looking at it, we were growing programs, it would be the total cost, but what's needed in terms to address the baseball field and softball field are the 2 quotes. For baseball field, it's $20,950, and then for the softball field, it's $15,600 to address the lip is the biggest issue, and then addressing like the side, doing the bases and different things like that. And it's detailed in the quote exactly what these dollar amounts will do. And so season starts in spring, so I'm not sure if this is going to happen or not, but this is why I'm coming and asking for these dollar amounts to address the baseball and softball field. Any questions outside of what was already given to you?
I just had a question. If we cooperate with other schools, do we get any or ask them for any money at all, or we're responsible for the fields?
I haven't asked them for any money, but that's something that could be maybe discussed.
I have discussed with the coach of the baseball team, and they are looking into potentially starting a fundraiser and also talking to their facilities and grounds department about potentially sharing some funds with us if we do move forward with some of the upgrades, so to speak, with baseball and softball diamonds. The other thing that we have to keep in mind is that as Gerald has presented, is that we've been trying to do this internally for multiple years with no success. And in order to keep our student athletes safe, we need to have a hard reboot, so to speak, in which to get everything all lined up, everything back to square one, so we can kind of move forward from this, given that we've had a few years of negligence, of not having someone who is properly trained or properly doing the job that was needed.
I guess my question is, and Gerald, I think this probably is more you. Will we also be hosting any WIA for the baseball or for softball? Has that been discussed in relationship to the?
Posted softball a couple of years ago. Depending on how well we play, I can't predict that right now. But if we get back to where we were a few years ago, we could probably host a round or two.
Okay. I think that was one of my questions in relationship to would we, kind of like how it is with basketball when you have your section, like people that they'll host here at Brown Deer or whatever. So I was also kind of wondering, is it going to be the same? Is it the same way with the baseball and the softball?
In order to like hosting like say sectional, we're not whipped, if you will, with that because we don't have a stadium. Because you're getting into trying to be able to generate some revenue, and you need to have a way of, like with the football field, you got to come in and I can charge at the gate. Where with softball, baseball, it's kind of like more open, like it's not enclosed. So
I was just wondering about the WIA things because I just recently signed off on that, so I'm just I was wondering how that kind of played in. Miss Ashley.
So I'm a former softball player. Okay. And I know how important it is to keep fields updated and the maintenance. What happened? Did we shortchange? And my question then becomes, if we say yeah to this, are we going to cut corners, shortcut in terms of the upkeep of both of those diamonds? Because I think if we have this discussion, and then the discussion on the table is to pay this money to, upgrade both of those diamonds. We have to factor in the fact that the upkeep and the maintenance is also important because we cannot shortcut. Otherwise, we're going to have the same discussion
in a couple of years
right now.
What I would say to that, Ms. Ashley, would be going back to staff retention, being able to attract appropriate staff. Because you need a person who really understands groundskeeping. And I can't speak to what happened prior to me, no idea, but I think it's very important to be mindful of whomever we're looking to hire to upkeep our groundskeeping stuff, that they have the skills and the knowledge so that we're not being frivolous with our money.
I also don't know, I can't speak, but I'm guessing that this may be something that even when you do it in-house, you probably have to reset their fee. At a certain point, you're gonna have to bring in and, you can do, they certainly probably could have been in much better shape than they were with some more attention. But I think at some point you do have to probably throw some money at just like you do with tennis courts, right?
Everything else.
Yeah. You're gonna have to bring in somebody at some point. The question is, would it have been a much better space now? Maybe the cost would have been less.
Yeah. And talking to the contractors that we have, they did say that, probably once every 2 to 3 years to have them come back out and just make sure that we're still in the same kind of neck of the woods, kind of more of a maintenance kind of update than an actual kind of overhaul in which we're kind of asking today for.
But I do like the idea. I think I heard during this discussion that some of the coaches were thinking about kind of chipping in.
Fundraiser.
Um, And certainly I think that is something that we should seriously think about. Because, I mean, we'll get this beautiful field, but, you have to think about also the maintenance and upkeep.
Did we ever think about like maybe potentially, and I may be jumping the gun, like some naming rights or whatever? So if somebody did diamond number one and it was $20,000, could we name it, could we do a naming rights thing to it or whatever have you? I mean, that's the route that a lot of either schools are going and definitely colleges and stuff like that. But would that be something that we potentially could put out there to be like, hey, if you do this and then, then this would be your name would be on this field or whatever.
I think
Yeah, I want Todd Beetle field, but I'll be paying $100,000.
I think that.
And what about sweat equity?
Something that definitely we can look to explore.
Right,
But
right now,
when I look at other school districts, I think we have a lot of prime real estate where we could get into the sponsorship thing and different things like that. So I do agree.
I mean, I've been to a bunch of other fields, and a lot of them in outfields have signs. You could appeal to a number of companies at a smaller scale than, say $10,000, you could get X bigger sign, smaller sign, but then the whole outfield fence has been lined with those.
And that's something that me and Gerald have talked about, starting to do. With this being my first year of facilities and grounds, I have suggested these kind of notions, and me and Gerald have been batting back and forth on how we can make this happen. So, this might be the year to really start getting involved into that scenario.
This is absolutely the year.
I don't know that we've had a comprehensive, we have an advertising policy. I don't know we've ever had a comprehensive program to promote, the district and to provide sponsorship levels and things like that, that you could approach area businesses and that, whether it be a sign on the football field, a banner in the field house, whatever the case. I know we have some limited pieces, but it probably is time to kind of look at that as a more comprehensive plan.
Definitely, because we're not only talking about this, but we know that there are some other athletic updates that we need, as well as we just talked about the playground at the elementary school. So I don't want every other month we're at the same businesses with our handout. So if we could have more of a comprehensive plan and we could say, here are your opportunities, how would you be able to support? That would be much better than multiple knocks on the same doors.
Yeah.
Now, question I have, what happens if we do nothing? What happens if we only do one? What's the impact of?
You couldn't do one because you're going to be dabbling on the Title IX. I wouldn't suggest that.
Oh, yeah.
What does that mean?
Title IX is in the sports. Yeah, one's the boys and one's the girls.
Yeah.
You can't get in the middle of that. Yeah, there's softball field, you've got different
You don't want to.
mentions and stuff for softball.
You don't do none.
Can't jump in that.
So we have to do baseball diamond 1 and 2
Yeah.
as well as softball?
No.
No.
There's one softball and one baseball.
Right.
Diamond 1 and Diamond 3, the first two items.
First two, so the 20,000, 950, I think 15,500.
So what's diamond 2?
Those were just other diamonds that he had them look if we wanted to get them to become playable. So we would get a bigger picture. So for example, we're able to grow our program where we have multiple levels. I wouldn't be able to play games at the same time because like on a softball field, there's an issue with it getting dark. And so I would need to have another field in order for the JV team to play. And I also have the varsity team play at the same time. So I asked Matt to get an idea of what that would look like. So that way we would understand if we're in that position, we have the numbers to support multiple levels, what that would look like.
So what happens if we do neither?
Then there's a great risk that somebody gets really hurt. So
Can't have divots in the baseball.
You can only patch it up so much.
Right, yeah.
So what
just don't work.
prompted me to really come before the board is from the safety aspect of not addressing it because you really putting the kids at a lot of risk.
Not only our students, but students from all the other students.
Yeah.
That's why we're at our fields.
Yeah. And it's
Yeah.
just up for liability if you get
If we don't,
people out there playing.
yeah.
And I get it, I just wanted it stated.
Oh,
Yeah.
I thought I stated it. Exactly, something safe. Part.
You know, I wanted you to.
Okay, not a problem.
All right. Any other questions? If not, would someone like to make a motion?
So what are we? Are we?
Diamond 1 and
then?
2. I mean, Diamond 1 and 3, which we, so will we be looking just to do the total? The total amount of,
$20,950 for Diamond 1 for the baseball field and $15,600 for Diamond 3.
It's 30.
so what's the total? dollars? 36,
555.
555. So we, I mean, is this number in stone? Is this taxes included in all this stuff? No.
That'd be a bad question.
Because now, if we're gonna say 36,555, it ends up being more. I mean, do we need to have anything else in there to make it just even 30, not to exceed
Not to exceed
37,000? Or for whatever that dollar amount may be?
Like to. I mean, it's up to you guys if you guys would like to do that, just in case prices have gone up. I got this quote, for the summer of last year.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man.
Something not to exceed.
Not to exceed, I would say not to exceed 40.
Yeah.
40.
Then it's gotta come back. It's gotta come back to us.
Yep.
So if we do it not to exceed 40,000.
All right, so I'll make a motion to approve the Midwest Athletic Fields LLC to fix the baseball and softball fields for the spring season in the amount of not to exceed $40,000.
All right, we have a motion.
No second.
All right, thank you very much for that. The motion is made and second. Any other further discussion? You see that all in favor will raise hand and or aye. Any opposed? You see that motion carries 7-0. Mr. McGregory and Mr. Russ. Kids will be able to have updated baseball fields.
And we
Baseball,
know
softball.
that Midwest is able to do this for this season.
Or I'll know by tomorrow. Hopefully.
All right. Thank you very much. Let's go on to our next item. All right, the next item is discussing the approval of the superintendent search firm vendors. Okay, with this, we had four vendors that we had before on the list, which was School Exec Connect, BWP, Raise and Associate, and WASB. Those were the four organizations that we had. They were actually used before when we did the search 4 years ago. Also added in CISA.
I'm sorry, what did you say? Who did it 4 years ago?
No, I was saying those are the firms that
Oh,
we
these are the same firm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I did was also added in CISA 1 and talked to CISA 1 and CISA 6.
Okay.
WASB, CISA 1 and CISA 6 said that they would not do a la carte. And that's kind of what we need is the a la carte because we've done a lot of the other work in relationship to this. But we did the superintendent job description. We already had created the timeline within the board approved that on the 9th. We did the job announcement on WASB, WeCan, and WSLC, and it closed on the 22nd. But report that we had actually ended up with 22 candidates for our superintendent search. All right, yeah, we're doing good. I mean, and that's us doing our due diligence. All right. The other thing we did was our community survey went out and we did the community survey ourselves. It went in we used SurveyMonkey. We had 145 responses from the community in relationship to our community survey. We conducted our own press release. And for the initial interviews, we're using Spark Hire, which is a video video interview system to where certain questions are asked of those candidates and they do their video and then they submit it to the interview team. So a lot of this other work that happened 4 years ago, we were able to do internally and be able to take care of that. And with that being said, I want to like to thank personally Trina, Donna, Amanda, Dakota, and then of course then Kevin and Dr. Brown for their work in relationship to being able to do this. So what we actually really needed, the only things that we need now was services that we needed were the candidate screening background, be able to facilitate the finalist candidates meet and greet with the community and staff, review back with our interview questions, prep the interviewees and on the interview process itself, and then any other consulting things that we potentially would need. But I don't think there was anything else that we would need based upon the search that was done 4 years ago. Okay. So what we did do was we got our RFP from School Exec Connect, BWP, Raise and Associates. So those were the 3 out of the 6 that we received proposals from. All right. And so we can go into School Exec Connect. They actually wanted to specialize in the a la carte part. And then within their proposal, it was the things that we were looking for were the candidate screening and background, interview question review of the protocols, and then any other services. So theirs was $3,000, right, to be able to do those things, and then $175 per hour if there was any other additional pieces that we wanted. When I calculated, I figured if maximum 20 hours, additional 20 hours of work for them, which would make their total contract be $6,500 from School Exec Connect. Background of School Exec Connect is actually, they are the one that actually did the process for us when we found Dr. Kelsey Brown. All right. So that was the company that did that. Our next, so again, that number, just look at that number, about $6,500. $3,000 was the fixed cost to be able to handle some of the services. And then they had the other a la carte pieces to be able to do that at $175 an hour. My calculation guesstimate would be about an additional 20 hours, which again would be about $3,500, which means about $6,500. I think the other thing I wanted to be able to let everybody know is by us being able to do a lot of this background work, we didn't have to turn around and spend $20,000 or $25,000 to be able to do this search.
But that's how much it was last time, right?
Last time it was 7, again, 4 years ago it was 17. One came in at 17.5. I think that's how we went up with the School Exec. It was 17, 20.
It was less than, I can tell you, it was less.
What, it wasn't 17?
I believe it was less than 10. I'm gonna double check.
Right. But again, now also I want you to think about it. That was 4 years ago.
Right.
All right. So now when you turn around and you look at it, that was one of the other reasons for being able to do some of this other work ourselves, because what we did was we already had survey questions. We were able to, do a bunch of these other different things ourselves. We already had WeCan, WASB, and the other search thing. We already had accounts with them to be able to put it out there. We've got talented individuals that are here that were able to help put together the press releases and some of these other things. So we didn't need them to do that to be able to do the full thing. All right. So BWP, their proposal for the services that we were asking for was $10,500, and that was their base cost. And then there was another $3,000 if there were any of these extra pieces that we wanted to add in to be able to do, which I don't necessarily think that.
You will be bugs.
Oh, hey, you can't frown at me. So you had to pay. So again, so theirs was $10,500 with an additional $3,000 for any other services that we wanted to be able to do, which would be about $13,500. And then Raise and Associates, their base was $14,500, and they had another $1,000 in there for travel. They are actually our local, and their proposal was $15,500. Yeah, there you go. So again, if you want to be able to look through the information, like I said before, I think the reason why School Exec Connect didn't throw in like all of this other background stuff or whatever is because we already use them and we've used them for other things as well too. So, yes.
My question is, you just said that you got these 22 candidates on the forum that we had posted on. So are these people going to work with those candidates or bring in more?
No, we're closed. Our window closed.
So these people would only work with the people that have already.
The 22 candidates that we have.
These people that are going to pick up and then start with.
What they'll do is they'll turn around and they'll start ranking candidates. You know, we got 22. In the grand scheme of thing, we take 22, break it down to 10 potentially do the Spark interview, which is the video conference, the video interview. They'll do that. The team will turn around and look at those 10, break 10 down to 5. And then, then we'll take 5 down to 3, and those will be our 3 finalists, or however we, as a board, however many finalists we want. Generally, you usually have 3, especially because of kind of what happened to us 4 years ago. We got down to our finalists and then 1 dropped, and then we brought another one in. So looking at it potentially as 3 finalist candidates, and those 3 finalist candidates, those would be the ones that would actually meet and greet with the community, teachers, staff, whatever, to be able to do that, to where, kind of like that same process we did before. While one candidate is doing the meet and greet there, the other one is doing the grounds, and the other one is interviewing, and then you turn around and, then we are able to do that. The good thing is all 3 were actually able to potentially stay within the timeline that we created, because we did all of the legwork. So when I talked to the individuals and I sent out what we were looking for or whatever, and they were like, okay, 2 of them said, okay, all right, y'all did a lot of the other work pieces that we didn't have to. So some of these other things will be easy for us to be able to do. Like our survey, the community survey that went out. It went out in Survey Month. So Ms. Jackson already has the thing, and we already have the results for it, because it populates as individuals turn around and do it. So some of those results from the community survey are going to be part of the questions that we have for the interview. All right. So we'll be turning around and we'll be doing some of those. So I don't know if you guys have the information in front of you. I'm quite sure you've got questions.
I looked through everything already, and I mean, if you feel confident with the school exec, what always interests me is the different range of prices and services. So, I mean, clearly, if you think School Exec Connect can do the job and that you've used them before, then I would feel comfortable just going ahead with them.
So I do have a question.
Mhm.
I know we have the background with School Exec Connect, and I know at least one of them is local.
Right.
What connection or references do we have for either of the other ones?
It's actually in their package.
They're in the package.
They're in the package
Well,
already.
I mean, like that. So the references that they submitted, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But do we have any personal connection with them already, or have we worked with them before?
I haven't worked with them. Well, the only thing I will turn around and say is with who's that, with BWP?
Like they did a lot of.
Yeah, they've done a lot of work. And then Todd, I actually was working with the guy Todd Budinski, and he was adamant about asking questions in relationship to what we were looking for, what we needed. See, because a lot of firms, they don't want to do a la carte. They want to be like, you give us everything and we just do it all. Right. And then they just handle it and just kind of go from there. And in this time right here, since we did this 4 years ago, a lot of the stuff that we were doing, we already had. So there was no need to turn around and redo the wheel.
And so through your work with School Exec Connect, overall, the previous boards working with them were pretty satisfied with handling, as we see the results sitting in front of us, absolutely. But overall, you were okay with them.
It's a little, I was gonna put it out there, I'm a little leery that, I mean, not that we have tons of money to pay for they're looking for. Is it just me? Or
Which goes.
you got the price there varies from the high
15.5 is
15.5,
Mhm.
right? And then the low is 3,000.
Well, it's 3,000, but there's gonna be other, like I said before, we'll probably end up with about another 20 hours worth of service that we're gonna need from them to be able to complete everything. So that's the reason why I said it'd probably be another $3,500 to be about, it'll run us about $6,500. But I think before, when we had talked about it and that was just kind of like, you know, when we looked at the process and everything that needed to happen and everything, I was like, I really didn't think that we really needed to spend more. Remember, I think you guys remember me saying, I was like, man, we have to spend more than $8,000, man. I'm like, I don't know, because a lot of the stuff that we could do ourselves, because we basically paid all of this money to be able to do it 4 years ago. So we've got a template, a blueprint, to be able to move forward.
So Felita, is your concern that School Exec Connect will not do a thorough job because they're so low?
Yeah. And I'm looking at everything.
And then look at the other part, like the a la carte pieces, the other pieces that are off to the side. Yeah.
If I look at other, I don't know, I will go with the majority, but I just wanted to.
Can I add a comment, Dr. B?
Or do you guys have an issue with him having a comment?
Just from my previous experience, I think one of the questions will be, where you want these individuals to be a part of the process. I found it very valuable to have them in on all the interviews. So I guess that's a question on the number of hours. So like if they're there during all the interviews, depending how many candidates you actually end up interviewing, usually an hour each kind of thing, and then the multiple rounds. And then they were there for the facilitating of the, both going to the finalist and then the final selection process. And I think having somebody that's a part, as witnessing all that helps facilitate the conversation with the board and not just having the 7 of you have to kind of discuss it. So you may find that maybe 20 is a little low. I don't know. It'll depend on how many times you have to meet to get to that point and to go through it. So, but you're probably in the 8 to 10 grand range. If you do 10 grand, $7,000 would be 40 hours of, which might be on the high end, but you're probably not that far off. I think again, it does depend on how much involvement you want, but I think having that voice is great in that process. So the more interviews.
That's the reason why I put in like the extra 20 hours. And then like I said before, there's going to be certain things as board members, I'm going to be talking to you guys about that. We're going to have to take a little bit more ownership in certain parts of the process. It's like with the staff that's here, like I said before, like with Amanda and things like, we were able to do some of these different things and stuff because we used the talent that was already.
And I did kind of add the 175 went high. And it fell right about 4,000. 4,000 with the
3,000 would be 7,000.
I think the greater thing that we have between all 3 of these organizations is that School Exec we've worked with them before, so we know our work. Everyone can make themselves look great on paper.
they don't go with the up for.
Right, but we know that we've worked with School Exec, and that's what's pushing me to them, because not one person, and Kevin, you sat on the board during that time.
He was president, he was president.
So you're.
How do you all feel for those?
Well, again, and some of it I think depends on who you get. I mean, I unfortunately, I think the individual we work with, I think passed away. So I don't think he's there anymore, but I thought one, or Jerry did, I don't remember what.
Was it Jerry?
Potentially.
Gibson was one.
It was Matt Gibson and
Jerry,
I can't think of Jerry's last name.
yeah, but that was for this guy to leave. So, I mean, if you get a good person and you have that great relationship, it worked out really well. As an aside, not that it matters, but School Exec Connect also was responsible for Dr. Kerr's search as well. So the district has, and that wasn't the final decision, but it really was working with, because we had Ray and Associates, WASB, and School Exec Connect all present to the board, and the board's opinion because the school
Yeah, and back to your question, Lisa, when you asked, how did I go with it? I went with who we had talked to in the past, and then I also added in CISA 1 and CISA 6 because we were doing, because of their expertises as well too and stuff, and they just didn't want to be able to do the a la carte piece.
Yeah, I can appreciate the level of conversation that they had us engage in with the last search and challenging us on things and questions and candidates and things like that. So.
All right.
I've never gone through this process. I'm gonna defer to the folks who, had relations.
As far as what making.
Yeah. Or going with or selecting.
Going with selection of I guess the question would be is how many people are comfortable with School Exec Connect, the proposing School Exec Connect?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I guess done. Someone would like to make the motion for School Exec Connect? Okay, yeah.
I'd like to make the motion to go with School Exec Connect for the new superintendent search firm vendor as presented tonight.
All right, thank you very much. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you, Business Making. Motion is made second. Any further discussion? And seeing that, all in favor would raise hand. All in favor with aye? Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. Motion carries 7-0. So we will use School Exec Connect. Okay, our next item is our
You know what? I'm sorry. I need to backtrack. Do we need to say not to exceed a certain amount with them since we don't have an exact amount?
we can.
Well, you are the board.
Yeah,
We can spend whatever you want to spend.
but yeah.
All you're gonna do is prepare yourself to vote again, but you
Yeah, that's what I'll have.
pay attention to what it is.
This of it and then we.
So do you want to redo it and say not to exceed 8,000? Or well, I mean, or do we even need to put we don't really need to put a cap, but we know where we know we're gonna fall.
Let's put a cap on, we don't know the hourly, so we don't,
You know that
stipulate.
But she's talking about how many hours.
Oh, how many hours?
All right, so yeah, so I guess we just, okay,
Come back.
all right, yeah, okay, all right.
Just have to keep an eye on it.
Well, I got to keep an eye on it, big time. All right, so next, number 6 is our board reports, SWSA and legislative updates. A whole bunch of different stuff. I don't know if there's one thing that I want to sit there and vote because everything's getting voted on right now. So I just defer that there's just a lot of different things that are going on from a legislative standpoint. And it's going to be the same thing when you go to the WASB update. It's going to be pretty much the same thing. So WASB update.
No, it's what we reported on at the top of the meeting. Everybody went around, shared their impressions. That's all I have.
All right. Ed Foundation.
The resolutions.
Nothing new to report for this.
All right, thank you very much. Parks and Rec.
Well, a quick Parks and Rec update. I forget if we had a meeting, but I know some updates about the other meeting. The director of Park and Recs will be on maternity leave at the end of March, April timeframe. The supervisor had quit, TJ. They have 2 new people onboarding. He quit at the end of December, I believe was the timeframe. They're onboarding 2 new people, a new supervisor, and now they are going to have an administrative assistant. I think it was a coordinator position. So they're going to have 3 people there now. And one was starting like soon and the other one was starting like in February sometime.
Okay.
So to be determined who's going to be taking over when Danny is on maternity leave, but more to come.
All right. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Next part is our calendar of events. We have February 13th of our special board meeting. The 14th parent teacher conferences, also Valentine's Day. The 15th parent teacher conferences in person. 15th through the 17th is the AASA National Conference in San Diego, which I was going to be there for that weather. Yeah, you know, love San Diego.
Before?
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Then there's no school on the 16th. The 20th is a PD day. 24th is our winter board retreat. The 27th is our regular board meeting. The 6th is the board symposium at Tulsa West. The 19th is our regular school board meeting, and the 25th through the 29th is spring break. All right, with that being said, we need to make a motion to go into closed session, but we will be coming back out. Individuals that are in attendance are online. We will be going into closed session. We will have to, Ms. Turner will have to leave the thing up for them to be able to get back in when we come back in.
Will someone be willing, Dr. Brown, you'll be here, so I'll make you the host, is it?
Yeah.
Yep, okay, all right.
All right. And for us to be able to do that, for those that are going to leave, thank you very much for attending. All right. So would someone like to make a motion to go into roll call?
Dr. Vito, I'd like to make a motion, roll call vote to enter into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statutes 19.851C. The Board of Education will move into closed session for the purpose of A, discussion of administrative evaluation, B, discussion of 2024 through 2026 administrative contracts, and C, motion and roll call vote to return to open session to announce to take action if any and if appropriate.
All right. All right. Motion has been made. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. None opposed. All right. So we can go into Ms. Ashley, roll call vote.
Vito.
Aye.
Daniel Ashley. Aye. Megan. Aye. Peterson.
Aye.
Robinson. Aye. Ben. Aye. Seven, we're going to close section.
8:14. 8:14.
Oh, wow, we're doing pretty good.
Oh,
Oh, you got to jinx.
So funny. That's good. I'm gonna be late.
So in March, we're meeting on the 9th, but not on the other days. Well, the one day is spring break, so we're not meeting then.
Just one time.
We're meeting the
Oh,
19th.
we're not meeting on the 12th?
No meeting on the 12th, that's the 19th. Okay, thank you.
You guys know that's gonna be my last forever. So y'all look sad when y'all.
Actually, you come. No, you still come to the first April.
Yeah.
Yeah, you come. Read them all at one time because it's different job titles.
I know, but if you read the whole time.
Oh, the whole list.
Yeah.
That's fine. All right, are we back on?
Yes, yes.
All right. So now we are back in open session, and would someone like to make a motion to approve the administrators' employment agreements for Morgan Conyers, Dr. Tanaka Glass, Rebecca Kirchman, Kevin Clemming, Jason Love, Erica Ramos, and Matthew Rush.
I'll make a motion to approve the administrator's employment agreement for Morgan Conyers as the elementary school assistant principal. Also, the administrator's employment agreement for Dr. Tanaka Glass as the director of teacher and learning. The administrator's employment agreement for Rebecca Kirchman as the middle school assistant principal. The administrator's employment agreement for Kevin Clemick as director of business services. The administrator's business service, wait. Did I say that?
Business services.
Business services. The administrator's employment agreement for Jason Love as elementary assistant school principal. Administrator's employment agreement for Erica Ramos as the director of special education and pupil services. And the administrator's employment agreement for Matthew Russ as director of facilities and grounds, all for the 2024 through 2026 school year.
All right, thank you very much, Ms. Walker. Motion has been made. Do we have a second? All right, thank you very much. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Any discussion? You can see none. All in favor, raise hand and or aye. Any opposed?
Hearing seen none, motion carries unanimously 7-0. And would someone like to make a motion to adjourn? All right. All right, motion has been made to adjourn, seconded by Ms. Macon. All in favor, with aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing seen none, motion carries unanimously 7-0, and we call this meeting adjourned at 9:54 p.m.